from like midnight to 4 on Blackboard. So we may be taken off for about an hour during that time, but we did it earlier in the weekend. So that way, if there's any issues at all, we can get them resolved Monday before Blackboard team goes out on Monday's holiday and before students start again on Tuesday. We're also looking at gathering faculty interest for the Blackboard Learn Ultra pilot as we start to think about updating Blackboard over time. We're taking into consideration some of the Microsoft Teams updates that they are doing to integrate Microsoft Teams with Blackboard Ultra. And so based on how those meetings go and how the technical preview goes, that may, help us determine when we start making shifts toward Ultra. The earliest we would make a shift toward Ultra, we're doing it in 2 phases. The first one sort of changes the navigation of the course a little bit, meaning it'll make your course menus look a little bit different. And I don't think we'll be able to use any of the Microsoft Teams tools at that time for phase 1, but it'll get everyone going in the same direction to think about our upgrade overall. That could take place as early as spring 2022, where that would be the earliest we would shoot for if the technical preview with Microsoft looks really good and they look like they're on schedule, because we may want to roll out Learn Ultra Phase 2 in fall 2022. So those are some of the things that we are looking at, as well as Crystal mentioned Teams training. There'll be a couple of different options for people to go through and complete training on Microsoft Teams meetings for their course especially. And just for us to reiterate that Blackboard is our main LMS, and so if we're working on anything that needs to have approval, such as an online course or anything in a hybrid or virtual course that needs to be reviewed and approved, those have to be completed on the Blackboard LMS, because that's how we also do our quality control initiatives through Quality Matters, which is a part of our accreditation for HLC. So for our accreditation as a university as a whole, to maintain that quality assurance programs of online learning. I think that's about it for us. I don't think we have any other.
So maintenance window, Memorial Day weekend. So if you do teach a class, don't have a bunch of stuff due that weekend, give the students a break, right? Just in case. And everything should be back up and running, hopefully only down an hour, but there's always a possibility. That's why we use the long weekend. And then use Blackboard as your LMS. Teams for meetings and collaboration, correct?
Correct. Yes, and there should be information coming from Academic Affairs soon. Just some of these, reminders. I think Dr. Taylor is going to be sending some info out within probably the next week, so we can look for that too.
Fantastic. Okay, anybody else have anything they'd like to add, share, questions on how things work? I saw Stacy was on here. Stacy did one of our kind of our teaching demonstrations last time. It was fantastic. And that is recorded. It should be on our training website. And put that address in the chat. When you go to our training site, there is a link to past sessions, so you can go check those out. All right, Sarah is back. Normally we would wait till about 2 o'clock to start, but so if there are no more questions or comments, then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sarah. Sarah's going to talk about some, oh gosh, it just escaped me. I know there's some password management and that kind of stuff in there. So IT security, but how to keep your personal information and the university's data and information safe. So Sarah, if you're ready, feel free to start whenever.
All right. Well, I saw that there's a lot of IT people in here, so I apologize to you first because this is pretty high, just an overview of basic password management, password best practices. So, but hopefully there's some faculty on here or non-IT people who this can benefit. But back in the day, you always heard that best practice was to have very complex passwords with this many symbols, numbers, uppercase letters, and you should change your password every 90 days. But newer guidelines have come out by a federal agency called NIST, and they say making people come up with new complex passwords every 90 days is actually causing people to use weaker passwords. So if you have to come up with a new complex password every few months, I'm sure you know, you're more likely to use some variation of the same password, or you'll be inclined to keep a file on your computer with all your passwords in plain text. Please don't do that. But passwords are the root cause of 80% of data breaches, and stealing or cracking passwords is the #1 hacking tactic used by bad actors today. So it's really important to use best practices with your passwords and your identity. So how can you create a strong password? Of course, you shouldn't use obvious name or obvious words like your name or your anniversary, or go herd is a really popular one around here. Consecutive keys on the keyboard. You shouldn't use any information that would be easy to find out about you, like what you share on social media. This is a table that shows you how long it would take to crack your password based on length and complexity. So say you have a 6-character password, it's very complex, numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters, symbols. It would only take 5 seconds to crack that password. But if you have a 13-character password with only uppercase and lowercase, it's going to take 16,000 years to crack that password. So length is really one of the most important, it's actually probably the most important factors in creating a secure password. There are a lot of recommendations out there. Personally, I would recommend at least 13 characters for a regular count. Some people say 8 characters. 13 is I don't know. I'm a paranoid person, so 13 I recommend. And then for more sensitive accounts, maybe 16 characters or more. That'd be like your banking account or any admin account that has access to sensitive data. A good password is also unique. It's easy to remember. It's also easy to type, so you don't want to have to dread putting in your password and hunt and peck on the keyboard for all the numbers and symbols that you included. So instead, it's a good idea to come up with a passphrase instead of a password, because it's easier to memorize a sentence than a random string of characters, even if it doesn't make sense. So just kind of have some examples on the slide. Swimming lion dances to fences. I mean, that makes no sense at all, but you can kind of visualize it to help you remember it. And then I kind of showed you this is very complicated. That would be hard to type in. It's hard to remember, what's capitalized, where you put all the symbols. It's just terrible to type. But then this example, it's actually really easy to type. You just do capital letters for the first the first letter of each word. It's 26 characters, it's really easy to type. It's just another example there. But let's see. Just a quick note on password generators. You can use one. I do it all the time, but just use them with caution, because I don't recommend just Googling password manager and going with the first link you see. You never know if a password generator a company is saving those passwords. If they do save them, someone could use them in a dictionary attack. Personally, I only use the password generator that comes with my password manager, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. Next, I want to talk about unique passwords. Can you use the same password on multiple accounts? This is one of those things everyone knows not to do, but they do it anyway. Your credentials can be revealed in a lot of ways. You can be checked by a phishing email, or you could get a malware infection, or they could be revealed by a data breach, which it usually happens when an attacker hacks into a company network and steals customer data, which often includes credentials. The hackers usually end up using it for their own agenda, and then they share it publicly for other hackers. Data breaches can also happen if an organization unintentionally reveals customer data to the public. So let's say Netflix has a data breach and they leaked email addresses and passwords, and your very long, complex Netflix password is the same as your Chase Bank password. A hacker could easily get into your Chase Bank account. So even if you have a password that takes 3 trillion years to crack, once it's compromised, it's really, it's no better than using password, the word password, as your password. Back to data breaches, they happen all the time. I read somewhere that over 1,000 breaches occurred in the US last year. And just like no person is immune to account compromise, no organization is immune to data breaches. And this slide just kind of shows you some of the bigger companies that have been breached that included passwords. You can see if your email address has shown up in a data breach. The most popular site that does this is called Have I Been Pwned? I use this to check my own addresses. I also use it to check marshall.edu addresses. It's run by a guy named Troy Hunt, who's a well-known security blogger. He takes all the credential dumps from data breaches and puts them in a database so you can see what breaches your email addresses show up in. And I can just kind of demonstrate. So I've been pwned. It just kind of shows you everywhere my email address has shown up in credential dumps. If any of these are usually on this particular email address, it's mostly like marketing. So they really didn't get my password. They just got some marketing information about me. I think I have this super old email address that might have been really pwned. Well, it was in the MySpace. But anyways, if you see something here, you can check your email address. And if you see something that looks like, you need to change your password, you don't only want to change it, say for MySpace, which isn't around anymore, but you don't want to just change it there, but you want to change it anywhere you use that password if you've used a common password. So the average person has 90 accounts. If you have to have unique passwords for each account, how can you possibly manage them without writing them down? So password managers are the perfect solution. Well, I shouldn't say it's not perfect, but they're a really good solution. The idea behind password managers is that you only need to remember one password and the manager will store the rest. I use one. I probably know 5 of my passwords, and I have 200 accounts maybe, and they all have a unique password. So my password manager, I really very strongly rely on that to store all my passwords. There are 2 type of people in the world. There's the password managers benefit. The first group are like me, who are security minded. They like to have strong passwords. We can use different long random passwords for each site instead of being inclined to reuse the same password or some format of the same password over and over again. They also benefit the type of people who really don't care about security at all. They just want to log into their accounts with as little resistance as possible. They're just very convenient. You can go to your bank's website, click a button, log in without typing a password. And also most managers come with a password generator, giving you the ability to choose the length and the type of characters you want in the password. A good password manager will have browser plugins, so you can easily select the account information when using a website. I'm actually just going to do another demonstration because I think it's easier to see. So I'm using LastPass right now. I'm actually trying to move to a different one, but I'm just going to use LastPass to show you. Well, I'm already logged in. So I have it on autofill, but what you would do if you don't have that on is you just click here. It shows you your username. You just, it can see, you know, the domain of the website that you're on, so you know what to pick. You just click it and then you log in, and that's pretty much it. It's super easy. One of the most important things to do when setting up a password manager is to set up multi-factor authentication on it. I'm not going to go too much into MFA because it's a topic that IT has covered so many times before. But if multi-factor is an option on any account, you should always turn it on, especially on an account that holds all of your passwords. So, you know, I wouldn't even, if you come across, if you're looking for a password manager and it doesn't have an option for MFA, that's just a deal breaker. I just wouldn't use that at all. And I know MFA can be inconvenient, but it's just such a simple thing you can do. It makes your account so much more secure. And lastly, the future of password management will be not using a password at all. Passwordless authentication is the ability to verify your identity without a password. Normally, your identity is verified by one of three ways: something you know, like your password or security questions; something you possess, like your mobile phone or your email account, SMS; and then something you inherit, like fingerprint, your facial recognition. And multi-factor authentication focuses on using any two of these three ways. And then passwordless logon will use one of the last two ways. So it'll be something you possess and something you inherit. And this is just kind of showing you the different methods of passwordless authentication. OTP is one-time password. Excuse me. There's also, you know, app push notifications, SMS. Like I said, biometrics. You can use a hardware token that has the one-time passcode on it. Just refreshes every 60 seconds. And then Windows Hello is Microsoft's version of passwordless authentication. You can use a PIN or facial recognition or a hardware token to log into your PC, which is pretty cool. You don't have to type in your password. And then there's also a cool feature where if you leave with your mobile phone and you have it connected via Bluetooth to your computer, it will automatically lock the computer as soon as you walk away. So we're seeing more and more of passwordless authentication, and it's more secure than a password because it's resistant to phishing attacks. So you can't give a bad actor your password if you don't have one to give. Theoretically, a hacker would have to be in possession of your mobile phone or hardware token to log into your account. So it's not to say passwordless login is hack-proof, because it's not, but it is a lot more secure than requiring passwords, and it's way more convenient. So that's all the topics I had. I can demonstrate anything if you want. I can even demonstrate on my mobile phone the password manager feature, or if you have any questions.
Sarah, I know if someone has downloaded the Microsoft Authenticator app to use with our MFA system, can they use that app for other two-factor authentications?
Oh yeah, I use it for almost all of my accounts, like my Amazon account and my Microsoft, my just regular Microsoft. What else do I use it on? Yeah, I just use it on a bunch. LastPass, my actual password manager. I use it on that too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Sarah, and I'll just add, I use LastPass, but for my financial accounts, the really important ones, including like the retirement accounts, I keep a 4-character suffix in my head. So that way, if someone breaks into the LastPass site online, which has happened, then they still don't have access to my most important accounts because they don't have those last 4-character suffixes. I have no
Right.
idea what my passwords are, but I know that once I, autofill that, I need to type in those last 4 suffix characters.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And another thing, I mean, when LastPass was breached, I mean, if you have MFA turned on, they still couldn't have gotten your information or your passwords, and they store those encrypted. So it's, I mean, obviously a breach is bad, but if you have MFA turned on, you're probably safe.
Were you going to demonstrate something on mobile, you said?
Yeah, I can if you're interested.
Sure.
Let me see.
And even though I'm in IT, I still learned stuff today. So
Well, good. I'm gonna have to. I think I can join on my phone. Hang on just a second. Can you all hear me now?
yes.
Well, I can barely hear you. Hang on.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There we go. All right. Share screen. It's really cool that you can do this, by the way.
I actually didn't know you could share your mobile screen.
I didn't either. I looked it up. All right. Can you see it?
Yes.
So,
Sarah might be getting.
Imagine that a bride's magazine came up first.
yeah, everything's shown there. So let's see. Let me go. I'll just do IT Ninja again. So here it is. Log into itninja.com using LastPass, and it goes ahead and shows me my username. I could also click the little key down in the lower right-hand corner in case that was the wrong password or the wrong set of credentials. Like sometimes, you might have 2 sets of credentials for the same site. So you would just do that and you hit LastPass. That pops up and then it can show you all the other ones, or you can just do a little search here. Anyway, so all I do is I just click it, facial recognition, and there it is, and it logs in. It's pretty cool.
So Sarah, say I have used the, what is it called? The keychain option on an iPhone, but I want to switch to LastPass. Do I just download the app on my phone?
Yes, you download the app on your phone, but then you also have to go into your settings and change the default password manager.
Okay. Under passwords.
Under passwords, and then this is keychain. I think you go to autofill, yeah, and then you just hit whichever one you want. I think also if I turn this off, yeah, you're supposed to disable keychain. So hang on. So you can actually have both of these clicked, but it's saying not to do that. That makes sense.
Who's they? Password experts.
Yeah. Well, I guess on the iPhone it doesn't work as well. It doesn't integrate as well if you have both keychain and LastPass enabled.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanted me to show, or?
No, that was actually my questions. So does anybody else have any questions for Sarah or comments?
I think in general, if you're only an Apple user, you use an Apple Macintosh, you are never on a device that is a Windows device or an Android device. Is iCloud Keychain a reasonable password manager, Sarah?
Oh yeah, I think it's a great one. It's just, you know, I guess there's some people who are only on their mobile phone. So I think it's a great option if that's what you're doing, or if you're on a Mac. But I don't know, if you go to another computer, use someone else's computer or something, and you don't have your password, you have to. I don't know how to access Keychain other than on those devices.
Yeah, I think that's correct. You have to be authenticated on a device that's yours to use Keychain.
Yeah. Not that you would want to log into on someone else's computer, but I mean, if you need your password for some other reason and you don't have that device, then, you know, you'd kind of be screwed.
Sarah, can you give us any tips on how we're supposed to prevent SIM card theft or something along those lines? That I've heard that people can just get a SIM card and thus, you know, the text messages go to their phone and not yours.
What I would do is use the Authenticator app instead of SMS. Just use that as your primary authentication method. I don't know, James, do you have any advice on that? Is he on the call?
Sorry, I was muted. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. More and more SMS is just, it's becoming not such a good method. So, I mean, I've done some reading where people have started doing even number redirects, so you can get the SMS text delivered to other people. So I definitely echo what Sarah said. You're just better off using Microsoft Authenticator app.
Okay, any other questions about passwords, password managers, security in general?
There is a cool feature on LastPass, which I will say, I know I'm trying to move away from LastPass, but I haven't tested this on another password manager yet, so I can't say that they all do this, but there's a cool feature where you can, it goes through all of your passwords. It tells you which ones are common, so you know which ones you need to change to make them unique. And then it also gives you the ability to easily change that password. Like you just click on it and it takes you to the site, and it can, yeah, I think it kind of autofills and you know, comes up with a random generated password for you to do it. It's just all automated. You don't have to you really don't have to do a whole lot. Always like that feature.
Apple has come out with an option for that in iOS 14.5, the one that was just upgraded a week or so ago. I just got an alert this morning with 8 passwords that are duplicated across sites, and I haven't tried the automatic change on them. That's always been sort of a problem depending upon how the individual site works, but I'm looking forward to trying that. I am, however, a LastPass user.
Yeah, I'm a paid LastPass user, so I'm still happy, but I know if you're a free user, you can only use it on one type of device. You can either use it on mobile devices or computers, but you can't use it on both, which kind of takes away the whole purpose of it.
John Cutler talked me into LastPass about 4 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
I agree with Alan. John Cutler told me about it several years ago, and I started using it, and I've told everybody that I meet about it and how wonderful it is.
If you're going to
Well, I
pay
will
for
say the
anything, I think
paid,
it's worth it.
sorry,
Yes.
the premium LastPass, I think, is like, it's $3 a month, I think.
Yeah.
And then Bitwarden, which is the one I'm looking into using, it's $10 a year. And I think I don't know if it does all of the same things. I'm still kind of trying to go through that comparison, but I think it's a pretty good option.
Crystal, in 3 or 4 months, that's a good topic for an update. Sarah's use of Bitwarden.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been using Dashlane and I do not like it
Why is that?
because it's just clunky and it a couple times it has forgotten my password.
Oh,
Ooh, that's not good.
that's the whole point.
Right.
Another cool feature about LastPass is you can share passwords with family members without
Yes.
actually letting them see the passwords, which has been great since I have 3 adult daughters who seem to never pay for anything. They just use mom's passwords. So that saved me all kinds of time and trouble.
And
I
there
think
is a
they
family
also
plan.
Go ahead, Eric.
I think you were saying the same thing. There is a family plan for LastPass as well that gives you 6 licenses for $4 a month.
And those passwords are secure among the family members, but you can still do that sharing. So the unit cost, if you share it across that many people, is very low.
Okay. Anything else we need to cover that we may have missed? Anybody still have any questions? Chris commented, yes, password managers are good for sharing with your spouse, so they can access things in case of possibly your untimely demise. You can set up a backup person on your Facebook. I noticed that.
Like in case you die. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Or if you share an iCloud account, your passwords just show up for each other on your individual iPhone, so it's already shared.
You can do the same thing with LastPass as well. Set up a backup person, and then how long before they have access to your account is in there as well.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions about security and passwords and password managers, thank you so much, Sarah. I actually learned a lot. And last year I went through and changed all my passwords on all of my banking accounts and important accounts. Sounds like I need to do that one more time.
It does take a long time to go through and change it all,
It does,
but
it was worth
honestly, once you do it, it's so convenient after that.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
And I did something similar to the gentleman that mentioned before about adding those 4 things on the end. Most of my passwords are similar, but the ending is different depending on the company, but that's probably not very safe either. So
Yeah, I've heard of doing that. It's just, if they figure out what you're doing,
yeah,
then they have it. So
yeah.
I use the password generator for everything. I mean, I really don't know any. I said I don't know any of my passwords. It's just like random string of characters.
Yeah.
For most of
I
them.
did notice on LastPass that you can have LastPass go through, and there are certain websites that they can automatically change your password, so you don't have to do it yourself.
Gotcha. And you can see your security score even if you don't pay for the premium. You just can't see the details, or you can then also upgrade to fix those passwords that aren't up to par per se. All right. Any other questions or comments or suggestions anybody would like to add on? Feel free to do so at this time. If anybody has any requests for any possible demonstrations. We're happy to find someone to do those, or if you'd like to do one, we'd love to have you. Feel free just to reach out to me or hit me up in the team. And again, if you are not already in the team for using technology at Marshall University.
Hello.
Hello. Are you still there? Oh, I guess he muted quickly. That team looks like this, and it's called Using Tech at Marshall U Community. Or you can just send me a message and I'll be happy to add you in there. If there's nothing else, then I will stop the recording and we'll be posting that on the web soon.